Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Quantum Human Revelations. I'm just checking that we're actually live before I start chatting.
Hello.
Yes, we are, because today it pops up. Okay, so I know I've got a few more people still to join me, but we can at least start taking some deep breaths and getting connected to our bodies and tuning into these wonderfully roller coaster-like energies that we're dealing with this week. Cool. So I'm just going to see if I can get you up on. Here we are. People still coming in here. So it's going to be February's energy reading. That's what we're going to be working on. And so for the next 4 weeks, I'm going to be sharing what you can be doing, what energies to watch out for, and hopefully giving you some insights into what's actually going on at the moment. Excellent. Yeah, and I'm just trying to get the session up on my phone so I can actually see comments. So can anybody on YouTube put a comment in so that I can see that you're there? Then we're up and running. Cool. Okay. Still got a few more people coming in, I think. So let's get started. I think we're all sitting comfortably and taking a few deep breaths. So welcome all. If you're a deep thinking, empathic, creative, with a good sense of logic and reasoning, you must be really wondering what's going on right now. But effectively, you're a sensitive high achiever, I'm guessing, like a lot of us that come here for this session. So I hope you'll join me today for discovering your pioneering, trailblazing, higher consciousness self and what it has planned for you. Because you designed your life, and I can help you decode that with the clues that you actually left yourself so that you could find your best life right now. So this is a best life that you crave from your soul, from your heart, but without the burnout. Because we're all on an adventure of self-discovery, looking for the courage and the inner power of our own true soul essence so we can step up and be something more. That's our holy grail. That's what we're trying to tap into. And we're doing this because we want to really show up in the world and start making a difference in our corner of the universe. So if that resonates with you, then I invite you to join me for the next hour, where we're going to co-create and flip the script on what it means to be human at this time. So grab your oracle cards, your journal, and if you haven't got oracle cards, maybe a book that calls to you. And then we can start looking at anchoring in these energies for you to explore today. So each of these episodes is a kind of quantum weaving of divine intelligence, of the words I speak are usually channeled. That's why if somebody asks me, can I repeat something? I can't. It's come through. I don't know what I said. But also I try to bring in the new frequencies for you to tune into as well, so that you can get a sense of, feel them whilst we're in this group together. So I'm just going to check to make sure everybody is where they're supposed to be, because I know a couple more people were coming in. No, still got one missing. Cool. So I want you just to take a deep breath, breathe into being present with me now for this next hour, and just enjoy the energies. You don't have to understand. This is not an intellectual process anymore. This is a feeling. And just enjoy what I'm bringing to your attention today, and allow yourself to just open that little tiny crack in your mind to consider that things could be different, that maybe the way we think about ourselves isn't the truth. And we're also going to be using the instinct of God, which is our natural ability to self-heal. So I just need you to tune in and believe in that. So the theme, I'm just going to introduce the theme for today so you get an idea what we're going to be talking about. And I'm going to pose it as a question. Are you ready to make life easy? Now, how desperate are you all to have an easier life than we currently have, or a simpler life than we currently have? I don't know if anybody wants to type into the comments, but how easy do you want life at the moment? Do you feel this calling to go back to simplicity? Because I know at the moment, I found that I've been craving that kind of feeling of wanting to live off grid a lot more than I ever have. And I'm not one that's generally happy in busy environments, but there's been this calling to go off grid, to break away from the cost of living crisis, from the banking crisis, from the financial crisis, from the energy crisis, from the wars. All of that is just really kind of pushing us to want to go and live off grid and just remove some of the stress in our lives that don't make sense. None of it makes sense in a world where money is man-made, There's no need for us to be fighting over resources like this. So I find it's really driving me to want to simplify my life. And even like to the point with the financial cost of living, to get rid of money as a concept and find a different way to live. So that's the question today is, are you ready to find a simpler way to live? And I'm getting some yeses on Zoom here, so that you're feeling the same. So please do subscribe and hit the like button and the notification bell so that you don't miss these in future. I have actually posted a post in the post section of YouTube with all the dates on, so you can now go and add them to your calendar so that you know when I'm coming on next. Because I want to build a community of revolutionary critical thinkers and change makers. And it's important that we don't do this alone anymore. If you caught my last podcast, then you'll hear why that's so important. Because we need to start sharing our stories, because you have something that I need to help me and vice versa. And this will trigger synchronicities, and it's going to help our evolution to unlock our quantum human abilities. So please do share your takeaways as we go. There'll be valuable input to our discussion. We're here to co-create together. It's not just about listening to me. And do drop comments in the YouTube so that we can chat more there as well. As it's like, I should point out, once you guys have put your comments in YouTube, when I try to go back and answer them afterwards, for some reason I can't find them. So I'm not ignoring you when you put comments in. I'll read them when we're doing the session, but if you have put comments in and I miss them later, I want to go back and kind of privately message you all. I can't find the comments. Now, it could be just me not quite working out how YouTube works, but I just wanted you to know that I'm not ignoring it. It's just I can't find them. So cool. All right, let me just check. Okay. Throw my phone on the floor. Sorry, YouTube people. Okay. So let's just take a few deep breaths now and come into the present. And for all of these sessions, it's all about getting into our bodies and sensing and feeling. So if you were with me for the last month, then it was a mega session. I shared the 2025 energy forecast, and I asked you some really big questions like, and this is just a nutshell, are you ready to become a quantum human to trigger the evolution of our species? So just a small request, really. And then I said, and I want you to do it while you're eating dinner around the table, or chatting to somebody on the train or the bus, or telling your story to your colleagues at work. Because most of history is created in the mundane, and that causes the ripples that can go way beyond what you can imagine. So that was kind of like, in a nutshell, what we did. But we did an hour and a half on this. It was quite a mind-blowing experience for me, and it still is, as I'm processing what I said, and I have to re-listen it back to hear what I said. As I listen to it back, I'm kind of still getting new insights and downloads on it. So I don't know about any of you, if you've had any kind of new updates since you listened to that, because we are on a brink of a profound metamorphosis. And we should really take a moment to acknowledge that we are alive at a time in history that's really going to be studied in the future. And it's going to be analyzed as to the moment when X happened. We just don't know what X is yet. So humanity really is poised to undergo a quantum leap. And I'm seeing this coming from all different psychics, astrologers, energy readers, ascension teachers. So we're all picking up on something is shifting. So the question is, what do we do with this? Is everyone knowing it's happening, but how do we embrace it? How do we connect with it? How do we work with it? And the way I kind of refer to what we're going through right now is this quantum leap in our consciousness is a bit like shifting from a caterpillar to a butterfly. And I'm going to use that analogy all through tonight to try and explain some concepts that are a little bit big. So what about you? Are you prepared to step into your role as the messenger of light and the agent of change? So give me a yes or a no for that. And don't forget to check up on the last episode of this podcast, because it was pretty mind-blowing. In progress? Yeah. Well, we've got all year. This is the outlook for the whole year, so I'm not expecting it to happen overnight. But equally, as the theme is simplicity and a simple life, then technically this should also be simple and natural, just like a caterpillar changes into the butterfly at the right time. So this month, as we explore what it takes to be simple or to have a simpler life and to have an easier path, like an easy path of higher consciousness living, we're going to be looking at how we can tap into our inner leader, harnessing the energy of devotion, renewal, and rejuvenation to return to that 0 point, free from the control of your past and the worries of the future, so that we can start writing a new story of joy and delight. So I'm sure we all could do with a bit of that. So welcome, evolving quantum humans. Are you ready to join me in flipping the script on what it means to be human? So you can all just affirm that and intend to take from the session what suits you. I want you to consider, what if we've been fed a lie about who we are? This idea that we're broken or flawed beings in need of some sort of constant repair. What if this is not the truth at all? And as I've been doing this work with the quantum human downloads that I've been getting, this is what I'm being shown. In every video that I share, I'm trying to challenge you to flip the script and see and redefine what it means to be a perfect human. And this is why my quantum human is really a radical new concept. It's the being who is seamlessly integrating spiritual awareness, practical mastery, and evolutionary change now, we know, as of last month. So it's a new term, and I'm sharing with you my downloads as we go, so it's all kind of new to me as well. And for those that don't know who I am, I'm Trudy, and I specialize in channeling divine intelligence for soul purpose guidance and as a visionary. I share the ascension energy forecasts and these quantum human revelations so that you have a practical guide for your ability to step out of the shadows and the confusion, and for you to be able to find your full quantum light potential and purpose, or cosmic purpose. And I'll talk about that in a moment. So let's set our intentions for tonight. Can you repeat after me? Are we all ready to repeat after me? So take a few deep breaths again. I'm trying to get you into your bodies. So no matter whether you're live or watching this on replay, you can repeat this with me and just intend that this statement is your energy recalibration for this session. So I am a radiant, confident, and self-assured individual, fully embracing my unique gifts and talents. My heart is open and expansive, overflowing with cosmic love. I radiate this love outwards with generosity, and I joyfully share it with the world. I am a conscious leader, unafraid to take risks and blaze new trails. With unwavering conviction, I step into my cosmic purpose, using my creative powers to manifest positive change. I am a beacon of inspiration, uplifting and empowering those around me. I am the embodiment of sovereignty, self-mastery, and the ability to create my own destiny. I walk with the regal presence of a spiritual aristocrat. And I have to practice that because that's not the word that wants to come out of my mouth after Disney movies. using my influence to benefit all of humanity. The world sees me as a catalyst for transformation or evolution, and a living example of what is possible when one fully embraces their true essence. I am a co-creator of the new earth, and I'm ready to lead with love. How does that feel? Just imagine that energy swishing all around you now and running down through your body, reprogramming all your cells, your DNA. And then just intend that you can call in that instinct of God that is within all of us, within every cell of your being. Intend that that now aligns you with that statement. So as you're doing that, I just want to remind you all, this is just a taste of what we do in the Quantum Human Portal subscription. I hope you can hear me okay, because I just managed to knock my mic. And the portal is a subscription-based membership where monthly we explore 12 superstructures that we need to boost our foundations so we can go higher. Because if we want to reach new heights, we need good, strong foundations. So if you want support and accountability to quantum leap for your life, then get in touch and see how my quantum human theory can support you in diving deeper. So you can get in touch via email, whitestarsoulguidance@gmail.com. So welcome to those joining me on Zoom. Can you just let me know if the volume, if the sound is okay and I haven't got it all crackly or anything? Thanks. So everybody on Zoom stays with me. Don't leave when we finish the YouTube, because we carry on as a private Q&A. Just to remind you, sometimes you get carried away when I wave goodbye. Excellent. Charles has gone straight away going, what kind of risks? Whatever risks you need to take to make your life amazing. That's the only risk. I'm not asking you to do anything crazy. But good question. That's a good question. So the format of these sessions, just to give you a warning, is that we do a monthly theme, what skills you will need to draw on, the outlook that we're looking to achieve this month. Then we're going to share the challenge that we're going to face and what strength you have to tap into. And then finally, just a bit of advice and the next steps. So that's the format we're going to go through now. Some sections are usually a bit more than others, but I'll try and get as much as I can across in this time. So the quantum human questions for tonight are, and you're going to write down a number that you can think of and just put the number of the question down in the chat for me. That would be good. So just the first number that comes into your head. Try not to think too much about it. So the first question is, so number 1, and share the answers in the comments if you can. Number 1 is, I trust myself, 1 to 100. Got some numbers coming in here. Cool. Number 2. All I need to know at any given time is revealed to me. 1 to 100. Number 3. I trust my life is unfolding in miraculous ways. 1 to 100. And then finally, number 4. I am ready to be the CEO of my life, to take charge and be bold. 1 to 100. So those are the questions for today. So I can see some answers coming through on Zoom. I've got nothing coming through on YouTube at the moment. So let's look at what quantum ingredients we've got to work with this month. So we're getting a lot of daily updates regarding the new energetic landscape I've been talking about for the last few months. And we're being prepared for our own personal metamorphosis. I'm getting that spring equinox, March 21st, is a milestone in this process. which happens to be the same time that the Kali Yuga, the end of the Kali Yuga age, as we prepare for the Golden Age, is supposed to be predicted to switch as well. So I thought that was quite interesting. Now, the full moon that we've just had was Leo, and that's all about leadership, which is why we had a lot of leadership and being the bold CEO type questions. So quantum humans are here to model a new way of being, and we're discovering what that is right now. And so far, I've got it based on 12 superstructures. So this month was the one about being the leader and the CEO of our own lives. So if we designed our own life, then we have all the tools to navigate it. So if we take that as our premise, then we can learn to take charge so that we're able to tap into our divine tools, our inspiration, our creativity, our higher consciousness, divine intelligence, so that we can become the best leader of our life. So whether that's a trailblazing leader or a pioneer leader or just somebody who holds space for other people. So that's an important way to consider yourself, because last year we did leader of the life, and this time I'm doing CEO. CEO is Chief Executive Officer. It's the head of these big companies, or any small business has a CEO. And that kind of chief role that sets the direction and the strategy and works out how the finances need to be, that reorganize the business. And the way I said to the people in the workshop was that the people you're managing are your personality types, your people pleaser, your perfectionist. The departments of your business are your life departments, such as work, relationships, family, spiritual, nurturing, health, and all those kind of things. So think of your life like that and as a business, and then you become the CEO. And just like a CEO wants to be profitable, wants to be innovative, you'll have values, you'll have an outlook that you want to share with others. Then once you tap into that, that's your big why. So now, as a CEO, knowing the people you're working with, being able to improve your staff, which is get rid of some of the limiting beliefs and bring in better beliefs, bring in new tools and technologies such as divine intelligence and learning how to use energy maybe. And using all of this, then you can define your life as a company. So that's what we were playing with during the workshop for the Leo leadership energies. So we can sometimes look at other leaders and think, oh yes, they're a special brand of person. But the interesting thing that came out of our workshop was when we went through it, even though I took like a list of proper CEO type attributes, we all could actually see how we already do those things in our lives naturally, the way we look after ourselves already. But we just didn't value it, and we didn't recognize it, and we didn't claim it. So by the end of the workshop, people were much more comfortable in thinking, yes, I can be the bold CEO of my life. So you guys can do that too. Because you all have this ability, as I said, to manage your own life because you designed it. So if you were able to join us for this, you always get the last replay during the membership, and you get an invite to the next live session that we do of the 12 superstructures. Just so you know, if you ever want to join us, then again, just email me, whitestarsoulguidance@gmail.com. So physical symptoms have been interesting. It's been about energy purification through drama. So you might find yourself being pulled into energetic battles, mainly within your family, but also it might spill over into other relationships if you're not having enough contact with your family. And the purpose of these dramas is to resolve ancestral wounds, because these have created negative energy management techniques for you. And if you're using negative energy management techniques, you're not going to be able to metamorphosis into a different version of yourself. So the way we do that, and you can think of people pleasing is a poor management of your energy, aggression, perfectionism, or even just being the victim of your life. These are all, we're not always sometimes permanently in these states. We just bring them in when we think we need them. And those are not working from your higher self. These are ways that we've learned to cope from our parents when we were children. So you can kind of, we do talk about these when we talk about personality and ego conditions. But I just want you all to understand that behind these personality issues, there is an energetic structure, and we call them things like defense mechanisms, or if you read the Celestine Prophecy, which I've been recommending, It's called control dramas. So we've been working with this in the membership this month, but we've been reminded that our approach for 2025 was from 3 different books: What We Owe the Future, Dissolving the Ego, and The Celestine Vision. So that's why I've recommended those books now for us to read this month or this year. So the book, Celestine Prophecies, talks about control dramas in 4 categories. I haven't got time to go into those now. You can always search for them, Google them. And the idea being that you, as the child of a parent, will have a different control drama based on what your parents had. But if we're here for evolution, then what you're really here to do is to transcend that energy dynamic and find a better way to respond to life. And that's what these control dramas do. They bring it to your attention and they help you understand yourself from a different perspective. A slightly more psychological version of this is transactional analysis, where they realize that studying us psychologically individually was different than when they studied us when we were in relation to somebody else. And like the way I behave with my mother, the way I behave with my boyfriend is going to create a different energy interaction. And by studying that interaction, you can learn more about yourself. So these control dramas are going to be coming up because it wants you to purify them. It wants you to come back to your original blueprints so that you can go higher. Now, this purification might happen in your dreams, in real life situations, but it's making us all very tired and wanting to rest more than usual. But I'm also noticing that suddenly you can get this really big high and you go kind of suddenly got like hopes and dreams and everything's possible again and then whack back down again. So it's a real roller coaster energetic experience. And the good thing is, whenever we get moments like this, you can feel like, oh, I'm broken when you're down and you're fixed when you're up. But we've got to start learning that these are just phases of our evolution and learning how to manage the lows and the highs to create a nice, sustainable approach to life. So has anybody been noticing control dramas occurring in their lives? Yeah, so I'm getting some people saying that's exactly how they're feeling. Hello, Trip. Hello, Jenny. Hello, Charles. I can see people commenting on YouTube, which is fantastic. But yeah, the second part of this, as well as this kind of like resting, exhausted, then suddenly full of energy, then exhausted again, we're also going through some more heart purification. And this heart upgrade is causing palpitations, but always get checked with the doctor just in case. But for me, it's been causing palpitations. And it's my heart preparing to integrate to the next level. Now, the way I've been noticing it is that sometimes I wake up and I'm really hopeful, like there's a future that's been shown to me that feels really real. And then another day I wake up and it feels like the old paradigm. So I think it's kind of showing us glimpses of what we could be. And then it goes through the purification process to clean out the heart, to remove the pain, to remove the reasons why we get into control dramas, usually the pain behind it, our trauma. That's what keeps these control dramas in place. So clearing out that pain from the heart then is when you feel low again, so that you can then heal them. And then you can kind of go into the next iteration of healing. So it says quite a roller coaster month, and it might be all year. I don't know. We're waiting to see how this goes. But March is that deadline. So maybe by March, things will start easing up. So please do take care of your physical body, do rest. Your nervous system, super important, as well as your mindset. It can easily lead you to depression, but it's not. It's just this shifting of energy and checking in on your heart. So I usually recommend people body scan to see what their body needs. Jenny said she was exhausted and now she's actually energized. So the astrological situation, we know we've got Pluto's shifted and all the planets are moving. We got the March equinox on the 21st, like I said. That's when they're predicting that we're going to move into the golden age. But I wanted to talk a bit more about the world narratives right now because they're impacting us too, or at least we're seeing the effects of the astrological physically in the world narratives that are happening. And back in 3 months ago, when we were talking about Pluto leaving Capricorn, I said that the hierarchies were going to start to break. Anything that had power over you was starting now to level out. And you can see it actually now coming into fruition in America in the way that they're having a real huge political deep dive purification, for good or for bad, we don't know. But at the end of the day, not everything that's broken or seems bad is that, because we don't always have that bigger image of what's going on. So good things can come out of bad things. But generally, it kind of feels like it's this rebalancing of the hierarchies and even bringing, I think, influencers and podcasters can now get press passes to the White House, where it used to be just prestigious newspapers. So all this is kind of showing to me the hierarchical breakdown. Now, the thing is, the universe will always meet you where you're at. So if you can change where you're at, then you can actually receive more or see things differently, no matter how small. So the way you view what's going on in the world right now is really a reflection of your inner landscape. So I always recommend people are really careful to focus on the new that you want to create, not the chaos that's currently happening. There are techniques you can learn to tune in and get better understanding beyond what you think is happening. And body testing is one of the key things I always teach for that. But just be aware that overall, we don't know the full picture and we can't judge just on the individual pieces that we're seeing right now. All we can do is work on ourselves, do the inner work, tap into this quantum human, this new perfect human that I'm trying to reveal to you each month, and allow us to transition and to change, ready for this new golden age, so that we're in alignment with it when it comes. So remember, we all have a part to play in this. We just don't know what that is yet. And if you don't know what to do with yourself, then just keep holding on to these higher octaves of love. Keep staying in that frequency and finding ways to get back there as we go through this roller coaster. So your ability to surrender, because effectively that's what we want to be able to do, is surrender to this process now. Because what is the simplest way to handle all of this world that we're dealing with? We can't fight it. Well, we can in small bits, but we can't fight it as a strategy. So what we have to do is surrender to it, and surrender to see the bigger picture, surrender to our soul wisdom, surrender to the divine intelligence, just to be able to sense things from a different perspective. So the questions I asked you earlier, like, do you trust yourself? Do you know that at any given time, things are going to be revealed to you? I trust my life is unfolding in miraculous ways. And finally, about stepping into taking charge and becoming the bold CEO of your life. Those numbers will be representative of how easily you'll find it, or how easy you'll find it to surrender to this process. Because life is never a smooth journey. We're always going through experiences. We're learning more about who we are. We're learning better ways to be through chaos, through destruction, through mistakes. So we have to accept that this is like trying to get rid of all the dark in your life. You can't, because without the dark, you can't see the light. It's about finding a way now that works in chaos. Because if it works in chaos, it's going to work in any situation. And the theme is simplicity. So we have to find a way that is simple and easy to cope with all of this. So what do you guys think about that? Do you, like, if I asked you, how can you make your life more simple and easy? What would you suggest? What's the first thing that pops into your head? And it's okay. There's no right answer here, yeah? In fact, what you say could all very well form a energetic bubble that we can all tap into. Like for me, I'd say money. If we removed money, would life be a lot simpler? If we all had enough food and enough shelter without this kind of money bartering, would that make life simpler? And in my private groups, we've been talking about Amish communities and looking at models of how that might be possible, just so that we can see what it looks like and see if that's something we want to co-create for the future of Earth. So what about you? What does that tune in for you? And if you didn't trust yourself, how can you trust yourself so that you can engage with life more? And this all carries on from the 2025 reading where I talked about the law of efficiency. And the law of efficiency was if you change your vibration, you'll be able to attract the things you want. It isn't always about doing and fighting and struggling with something. It's about learning to read this energetic landscape in a new way and finding the simple path through. So are you guys ready to make your lives simpler? Yes, no? And what would that look like? Jenny's saying so she's just been through an energized state, so she can look forward to being exhausted again. Well, think of each exhaustion as you healing. So reframe it and allow it to happen, and maybe it will give you better results next time. So are you ready to make life easy? Yes, I got some yeses. And what would that look like? And you might not know the answer now, but I'm just planting that seed of the question so you can think about it over the next month. And then, of course, the next step is if you are the CEO of your life, you know, this company I spoke about, then what can you do as changes to make your life run more efficiently, where you use your time more wisely and your energy is more protected, where you don't burn out? What internal work could you do to help your mindset deal with some of the chaos so you don't worry so much and don't stress so much? How can you have a more Buddha consciousness thought pattern? So if you've got your cards, and if you haven't got a card, then maybe grab a book that calls to you, then open the book to a random page or pull a card just to see what you can do to help your next step in helping you align with a simpler, easier life. So this will be card one. So what can you do? Ask for some advice on how you can cultivate a life that is simpler and easier. And those on Zoom, we can talk about your cards when we do the Q&A later. So just remember this is card one. Letting go, trusting more. Yeah, that's one thing you can do for life. Haven't been trusting recently in some aspects. I think that's the heart opening bit. Because like I said, I wake up sometimes and I feel like the future's right and then it doesn't feel right. So that's the heart expansion. So you're having both of them, Jenny. So whatever it is you're going to do for simple and easy, it's externally, we have to look at where you invest your time, energy and money and love, and examine if the return on that investment, remember we're being CEOs, that return on that investment, do you feel equally nurtured? Because it's not always about receiving what you give. Do you feel equally nurtured, or do you feel frustrated and abandoned? In which case, is that a good return on investment of your energy, time, love and money? And then we have to look internally. What is the hook inside you that is making these experiences happen? Because it's not that these experiences are there trying to punish you. These experiences are there to help you purify. So if you can connect to why they're happening, then you might be able to use the instinct of God to self-heal. So I'm just trying to read some messages here. Make my life more convenient for me. To all three questions. So then you have to go a bit deep and say, what is convenience? The more precise you are, then the more aligned you become with a defined solution, the easier it is to spot it when it comes your way. Because whenever we're manifesting or co-creating, we don't want to say what we want. We want to focus on the feeling, how we want to feel, and then allow the universe as many opportunities to deliver it to us, which could be a different job. It could be through a different experience than we could ever imagine. So by just focusing on how convenience feels and specifying it by maybe having more time to yourself or an easier commute to work, whatever it is, then those will help you align more with what you want. So that's the theme. So the outlook is the soul is on earth for its own delight. It's a Rumi quote. So again, it's about remembering we weren't forced to come here to this planet, that we had a plan, and we didn't leave source energy and source behind. We actually brought it with us. And sometimes the simplest wisdom is the hardest to acknowledge, but we brought it with us. Now, the human body might not have been calibrated to access it so easily, and we've had to go through some spiritual education to learn how to do that. But I think this is changing. So I think you reincarnated because you were going to create a world that you could enjoy whilst in a physical body. You're not here to do something, then leave and go back to this joyful place. You're bringing that joyful place here. You're birthing it here. And it might not look like it, I know, with all the crazy going on, but the old has to break away for us to create the new. So even though we might not find something to enjoy, what the outlook is trying to teach us is that despite all the chaos we're surrounded with, if we're here to create, then we would have been left ourselves some clues here to help us enjoy life. And enjoy life in a way that the human body understands, not just the soul. So this is about pleasure and joy and how they benefit our physical health, and how the natural beauty of earth, of animals and plants are here to remind you that God is in everything. And when I say God, I'm talking about the divine, our source energy, our God spark is what I prefer to call it, as opposed to the God, that thing that's outside of you. This is just showing you the magic of the earth, its ability for a plant to grow, to know when to grow, for animals to know when to give birth. You know, it's that magic. That's the God I'm talking about. And the poets link objects of beauty and delight, like roses and wine, as metaphors for this divine energy, because it's starting to educate us on how to connect the divine with the physical, as opposed to it being something outside of ourselves. So again, reinforcing that the divine spark is here on earth already, in our bodies, with us all the time, rather than us thinking we're praying to a God outside of us or calling in a God outside of us. There is no separation. It's just that somehow our physical bodies close the door to it. And the metamorphosis is opening that door again. Are we okay with that one? Yeah, does that all make sense? So the preparation is your experience is complete. Now, I've had this message a few times in the past, but it's kind of like saying it's a reset. It's a call to reset. And it's saying that the past is an old storybook. It's time to close it, put it away, and recognize the end. Return to 0 point, to equilibrium, to the full, to because the thing is, we can sometimes keep dragging all that past along with us into the future by reliving it and thinking about it. And whoop, might be back. I might have dropped it. So the problem is that we drag the past into the future with us, onto the present with us. We keep pulling it behind us. And our current present is created from our past memories that we're reliving all the time. But it's time to realize we're different after the time that we've been through the last few years. We've completely changed. And it's a bit like saying, when you become a butterfly, you don't hang out with caterpillars anymore. So stop thinking like a caterpillar. We've got to start looking at things completely different from a higher perspective. And it's not about judging it as what was good and what was bad. It just was exactly what was needed to get us here. Because things are only bad because we deem it bad. So again, it's reminding us that there are other stories going on that are not related to you, but they are part of the divine plan, and that you will not be able to comprehend it based on your current view. So that could be your view of where you are in your self-healing journey, of your wounds. You can't always see the big picture. So how can you judge what's good and what's bad right now? So the question is for the preparation is, have you reset? Have you reset yourself back to this 0 point equilibrium, ready to be no, I probably can't say that out loud, ready to be all fresh and new. And the Fool is the tarot card that best represents this state. Yeah, I'm hoping the sound came back, and I repeated the bit that the sound dropped out on, Jenny, I hope. And you're a bit behind me, so I won't know if you've heard me say that yet. So how can we reset back to equilibrium, back to the 0 point of innocence? So want you to pull a second card for this question, card 2. How can you reset, or what is the main thing you need to know about resetting yourself back to innocent and to the 0 point? And if you don't have cards, then just grab a book and open a book to a random page and point your finger onto a word and see what word you get. This is all great fun for critical thinking. So a lot of what I'm sharing with you guys is about switching, like flipping the script on what you think and what you believe. And that might sound simplistic, but we are working with simple and easy today. But the thing is, if I'd have said to you back in 2018, oh, we're going to have a pandemic where you're going to have to store all the toilet rolls you can find, you wouldn't have believed me. You would have thought I was crazy. So why do we doubt the amazing things that we can be when we're quite happy to believe that we're not as powerful as we are? So when we create these new narratives, we're basically reprogramming our brains to be able to align with the opportunities when they come. And I'm a great believer in it's worth a try, as long as it doesn't hurt somebody. If I'm asking you to return to innocence and pretend like the past has no hold over you now, just lessons that you've learned, then it's not a harmful thing to practice that so you can see if you can attain that state, which might then bring new opportunities. So this is card 2. So to help you with that, like I said, you need to focus on that the lessons that you've had, the challenges that you've had were all experiences for learning, what strengths you had, and that these are somehow going to help you in a future way. So it's about just reframing those challenges to take the edge off them and to do the healing required. And then you can lead from the scar rather than from the wound. So the challenge that we're going to have to deal with this month is about sharing stories of ego release. This is going to be a huge topic. I'm not going to have time to go into this in a lot of detail, so I'll go through it quickly with the information. You can replay it to listen again, because it's a paradigm shifting concept. And every time I try and tune into this, my head just starts going round and round, and I can feel it really kind of trying to flip a switch in my brain. And I know that that's usually quite a big shift in energy when that happens. So I invite you to try and sense into what I'm saying rather than intellectually understand what I'm saying. And that way, if my words aren't quite doing it justice, you can tune into the energy of it and perhaps pick up more from that. So close your eyes and try and visualize what I'm about to say. So the question I was posing, and some people have already seen the question, is we're going to use the caterpillar and butterfly. So let's imagine a caterpillar and imagine that he can speak to us. We're going to make it a talking caterpillar, and that he can do a future life regression with me. So in times of metamorphosis, which is really what a caterpillar's life's all about, is metamorphosis, he might not know this. So if I took a caterpillar into its best future and said, let's see what your best future is, what is the caterpillar going to see? Is it going to see the very best caterpillar it can be? Or is it going to see the metamorphosis and the butterfly? So let me delve into that a bit more. So both the butterfly and dragonflies have this metamorphosis process. But I'm kind of going along the lines of what if we have this as well as humans? So you've got to look at it in a very simplistic way that a caterpillar and a butterfly are radically different animals, beasts, creations. Just like a dragonfly comes from under the water and then becomes the flying version above. And it involves 2 sets of DNA effectively. And that's the simplest way to explain it. So I read this statement. It said the genome, the entire DNA sequence of the butterfly, would be identical to that of a caterpillar in all somatic cells. Somatic is physically in the body. A caterpillar has the genes to produce wings. However, at the stage of development when it's a caterpillar, they're not switched on. So they can't make the necessary proteins to make a wing. Now, what if that's us as well? What if we have these hidden DNA switches waiting to be flipped? And what metamorphosis would that result in for us? So this is why I asked, like, how would this impact the future dreams of the caterpillar? If it's got DNA that's not been switched on, then are there aspects of itself it doesn't even know about yet? And therefore, when you ask it to look at its future, it just can't see it. And this is how I've been seeing it with clients as well. Because when I take somebody to their future, the personality, which is, imagine it as the caterpillar, and the higher self is the butterfly. So when I take people to their future, they often want to see the house they're going to have, the car, the job, the money, the relationship they want. And I kind of dread when people say that to me because that's not what happens when they come and work with me. I think as a soul guide, what I see and what I hold space for you to see is what the higher self wants, which is the butterfly. Now, the future of the butterfly is going to be really difficult for a caterpillar to understand. So I did look up what perhaps the mission of the caterpillar might be, and it seems to be just eat and grow. So if you came into this earth with the mission of just eating and growing, and then transformed into a butterfly, which is about pollinating plants and balancing the ecosystem, you're not going to be able to understand that big why from a butterfly perspective because it's so radically different. So this is why I asked, would a caterpillar, if they viewed their future self, see themselves as the best eating machine they could be, or would they see themselves as pollinating flowers? So that's the kind of flip that we're going through too. And that's kind of what we've been going through with all of this ascension, evolution. We're being impacted by neutrinos from the cosmic rays that are just around us. They're finding new particles in the atmosphere all the time and new scientific quantum physics aspects of quarks and atoms. You know, all of this stuff is new and we're just discovering it all. We're in a part of the universe we've never been before as we're going around the Milky Way. You know, we're going around a huge thousand-of-year cycle. So we don't know what we're going to be exposed to. And if this was a divine plan, and you imagine us going around the Milky Way galaxy, and suddenly we hit a certain point where that switch, that DNA, that metamorphosis happens, then that would make the last 4 years the cocoon that we've just been in, the chrysalis. And then as we come out the other side, we're going to embody more of our light, of our higher self state. So effectively, we've got dormant divine DNA, which is why I say instinct of God in us, awakening from all of the energies that we've been exposed to, including the solar flares last year. You know, it was one of the biggest years for solar flares. I don't even know if there is another time that matched it. So why now? And imagine that this dormant divine DNA within us is awakening. And then the shadow, the control drama, the karma DNA is the ancestral programming being purified to make room or to at least free up the divine DNA to do its thing. Then that would make our metamorphosis make more sense, yeah? Anybody want to give me some feedback on that? Make sure you're still with me. Yeah, Jenny, dragonflies apparently are the other one that does it. And maybe yes. I'm going to claim that one. Are we all with that? For some reason, I'm not seeing comments, so I'm just checking everything's working there. Yeah. Yeah, it is epigenetics. Yeah, no, you're right. It's epigenetics. Epigenetics. That's it. And that's how we pick up, you know, ancestral miasms and all this kind of stuff. And I spoke about miasms being cleared last time. So it definitely fits with how our DNA, and there's a lot of hidden aspects in our DNA that I think Greg Braden talks about the God code in our DNA. So that kind of aligns with what I've been seeing and downloading as well. So the thing is, as well as the DNA programming that's taking place, what also is happening is that we are raising our narrative. Think of it from going from caterpillar thinking of munch, munch, munch to butterfly thinking of pollination and ecosystem balancing. And the thing is, it all happens simply and naturally via this instinct of God. It just happens. Somehow the body knows. Because we often think the body's weak and it's not as good as spiritual connections and all that. But somehow these bodies just do this. So based off that, this metamorphosis that we're going through, as I said, the caterpillar is the personality, the higher self is the butterfly. I think there's going to be this convergence where we normally are taught to connect to our higher self, but what if that higher self is actually within the cells of our body waiting to switch on? What is life going to look like if we are the embodiment of our, not only of source energy, but the embodiment of our higher self? When we're not having to think about connecting, we are just connected. So that's the challenge. The challenge is going to be, how can we accept this shift, which is the letting go of the personality and dissolving of some of the aspects that the personality is holding in place. We don't want to get rid of the personality, it has its purpose. We want to be able to reprogram it and make it work for the butterfly effectively. So the challenge is going to be how able we are to do that. And again, this relates to one of the books from the 2025 reading of the approach for 2025. Because when we share our stories about this, like I'm doing with you guys today, I'm hoping that that's going to trigger some synchronicities, and you're going to go off and have some more synchronicities when you talk to somebody else about this, or you'll hear something similar that you'll bring back. But you need to close the loop and feed it back and put them in the comments here so that we can keep this process going. Because this could be the bit of information, the missing piece of your puzzle that'll help you evolve into your next state. So if you're not sharing your stories, not only are you holding up your own evolution, you're also holding up the evolution of other people as well. Because if we are in unity consciousness, we're all connected, then of course we're all going to have clues for each other, and we're all going to have information to share with each other. Now, the thing is, we have a technology to help us do this right now. Social media. Can you imagine if social media was applied from a synchronicity point of view, as a way where we shared what we're going through on an authentic level than the way it's currently used? That we don't have algorithms on popularity. Instead, we're able to allow the divine energy of randomness to allow what we need to come to us when we need it. Imagine how amazing that could be. We even have AI, which has the ability to search lots of information and offer stories, to take data and to reprogram it into wisdom is a human experience, but it can at least take data and reprogram it into stories that when we read the story of the data, will trigger something in us because it'll help us see things from a different perspective because we haven't joined the dots of the data. So I think there's a chart on this, but I think data goes into knowledge first before it goes to wisdom. So AI can help us take data to knowledge. I've got a computing background, data to knowledge, and then we can take the knowledge into wisdom. So we have a lot of technology to help us. It could go all the wrong way for sure. It could be misused, but I'm hoping that we can, again, decide how these things show up in the future and decide which bits we want to keep and how we want to keep it. But there are some benefits to technology to help us with this evolution if we use it correctly. Oh, Charles is saying he hasn't heard me use Instinct of God before. I think I did last month as well. I do throw it in from time to time, but it's such a complex we've been using it since last summer, but it's such a complex theme to discuss. I haven't always got time to explain it all here. There's a funny rule with it. You have to, it wakes up through vibrations. That's what activates it. And we need to get it up to about 92% before we can use it. So it doesn't have to be 100, but it needs to be at least 92%. So that's the instinct of God that we've learned so far. And it's kind of bringing in the solar flares, our divine attributes down into the column of light that is us. So it's an energetic technique as well. So if we all switched from actually sharing copies of other people's content or fake photos or what we think is popular, and instead started talking about the painful aspects of metamorphosis, and we all were able to pick up on the messages when we needed them, then that would actually speed up our evolution. And for this kind of work, it's not about I intellectually understand something, so I'm going to look like I know what I'm talking about and share it. This is about coming from, like, mine is coming from within my heart. This is why I get this information. I don't understand it yet. I'm still learning, but I'm sharing with you to trigger your synchronicity. So it's not something I've read in a book that I'm sharing with you now. And that creates new truths to share, because how do we come up with new stuff if we're only recycling what we learned in books? So this is kind of the model of the spiritual warrior, and allowing us a more enlightened path to sharing our ego stories as inspiring rather than, oh, I'm broken, poor me. I don't want the world to know this is what I'm experiencing right now. Because we know, like a few people have already said, they're already exhausted and they didn't know why. By me sharing that I'm exhausted too, then, it just shows this is a normal pattern of what's going on right now. But if nobody shares that, we're never going to know what the pattern is. So I think the problem with this sharing of our stories of how we dissolved the ego and awoke our higher self, this metamorphosis story, is that we don't have the language for it. We've never been trained to speak this way. So it is a process of learning how to verbalize our self-discovery at this level and how to share techniques that we've used that are sometimes energetic and not always easy to put into words, and to be able to express the aspirations of our soul and what we're experiencing. And we've got to be even vulnerable enough to actually share this in the first place, and to be open to the fact that once we've identified it, then we can start looking for a solution for it. So the challenge is about us learning how to dissolve the ego and share the stories to create those synchronicities, to allow that instinct of God by making the unknown known and opening our hearts to be vulnerable so that we can share our stories. So hopefully that makes sense, like especially when we use the caterpillar and the butterfly as that switch from being this, because I always talk about personality led and soul led, but this is something else. This higher self is more of a physical change in our bodies as opposed to accessing our soul and our soul wisdom. And again, I do have more detailed descriptions on all this, but it would just take a lot longer. I'm already running a bit over. So the strength that we have is us tapping into our devotion, our dedication, and our commitment by connecting to your heart. So this is where the strength comes in. So when we've got to go through some hard times, then we have to become more heart-centered. And we're going to be using the plum rays today. So the color plum represents the devotion and dedication, and it can help you overcome your challenges. And just as a little energy technique you can do, you can connect to your heart. You can imagine creating a ball between your hands of purple, like it's a plum energy. So it's not quite purple, but it's purpley red. And then we just comb it all over our bodies. And it just becomes a bit like Tai Chi, it's that kind of create an energy, imagine the plum of devotion, and then just wiping it over your body, connecting to that feelings, and then making it stronger and stronger. And it'll help you connect to your life purpose when you're doing this, because you're allowing your challenges to be transmuted and again, metamorphosis into your life purpose. And I'm just asking you guys to act like a loving CEO of your life that wants to make your life a success and the success you deserve. Finding that conviction, like a CEO has a lot of conviction to make their companies, they've got up at bed, they've created the company, they're working at it. It's connecting to that part of you in your life and allowing you to overcome whatever challenges or issues are holding you back from sharing your stories of ego release and embracing your evolution and the change. So, a smaller version of this is we're not very good at handling change, let alone metamorphosis. So we really want to soften that ego and the personality, which is our bodyguard trying to protect us. We need to soften it now and say, do you know what? We're actually okay. It might not feel like it yet, but we're going to do plum type exercises or energy exercises so we feel okay enough to say we don't need you on guard 24 hours a day. We're going to soften it so we can redefine who you are. So just imagine that plum energy and just combing it all around your body, around your back, down your legs. If you've got something that's plum coloured, you can imagine swiping that. I have a card with plum on it. I can't find it now, but I've been using it and it just feels really good just to swoop it all over me. When you get sensitive to energies, you get sensitive to recognizing that what works like this, even if it makes no sense. So the advice is enlightenment. So what is enlightenment? Well, it's a bit like what is your higher self? Like I said, I've read lots of things of people saying connect to your higher self. I call the wisdom that's coming in soul wisdom, which is our multidimensional past life, future life information that's coming in. Because of my computer background, I like to have things defined and specific so I know how to use these tools in specific ways. But enlightenment is the opposite of depression, if that gives you a better understanding. So if depression means under pressure, like being squashed amid small and pressurized, enlightenment is lighter. And I think the reason the advice is enlightenment is because it represents the vastness of human potential, galactic potential, cosmic. And when you rise up to that higher level and look down on your life from that higher level, it gives you the bigger picture. And you can start seeing that you could step out of your comfort zone into something bigger than yourself and have faith that all of these forces that are greater than you, the way the planets move, these neutrinos, these cosmic rays, are all working for you. So if we can tap into that, then we come back to my original question, which was, what if we've been fed a lie about who we are? What if the lie of we're broken, flawed beings needing constant repair is not true? Then enlightenment would give us the answer of what is possible. And this is where I get the ideas of quantum human from. So I have a little thought experiment for us, because I usually do one of these. So right now, can any of you name a book, a term, or a concept that represents the perfect human? So think of the hive mind here. We're all kind of tuning into the hive mind. What represents the perfect human? Anybody? Are you all thinking about it? Because I couldn't come up with one. Okay, so let's try the opposite then. So I've got a background in artificial intelligence. So to understand what something is, you need to understand what it's not. That was one of the things I was taught very early on in that study. So what books or terms or concepts do we have regarding the flaws of human? So there was one in last month's reading, which was dissolving the ego. There's probably books on how to not be a people pleaser. There's probably books on how to make more money. We're probably more able to talk about personality disorders and focus on that. Charles, stepping out of my comfort zone. Do I got her? The thing is, when you do this work properly, it's not about forcing you to step out of your comfort zone. You actually joyfully leap out of your comfort zone. It's just about reframing how you approach the work. So the thing is, we do have a lot of personality disorders that we know, that we can recognize, and there's lots of books on all of this. But doesn't that mean then by reading all of these books, we're feeding that part that we've got flaws? You know, we talk about focusing on what where you focus is where your energy goes. But there's not many books that really sum up what the perfect human is. And I guess the few that I know of would be superhuman focused. So I can see Nee's mentioned Russian literature and Sharon's mentioned The Giver, but I'm not sure in what context they were at. Like, what was the perfect human in that, or what was the flaw of that? So the thing is, with TV full of superheroes, they kind of give you this impression that being a superhuman is that kind of impossible version of humanness with impossible skills that we look at and we can somehow enjoy but not see it within us. We could even argue that the perfect human is what they might call the divine or the God, but even that's an energy outside of ourselves. So there's not really many books written as a kind of real definition of what it could be to be the perfect human. And I don't mean like the good human. I'm talking about the empowered, perfect human. Yeah. There's lots of books about how to be a good person, but this is about stepping into our power. And I was joking the other day that if I had to give an archetype to this, then Kung Fu Panda was my archetype because he's humble. He's not the sort of shape or size to be a karate expert. And he doesn't even realize he's talented until somebody taps into his natural abilities. You know, the whole story kind of fits. So he'd be my perfect human archetype, I guess. He's vulnerable and yet courageous at the same time. He's humble, working through his limits, you know? But seriously, you know, what have we got to represent the perfect human archetype? And that's what we need. If we haven't got that to aspire to, and we're only focusing on the problems that we have, then how do we do this metamorphosis? So think of it. How many books have we got on caterpillars versus butterflies? Effectively is what we're looking at, the human equivalent of that. So I've always said for years that I didn't need spiritual books. What I needed was a book to tell me how to be human. And this has kind of led into the work that I do now. So the Quantum Human is that kind of book on how to be human, tapped into your spiritual skills and how to use those skills in a pragmatic way on earth, as opposed to it being something I go off and meditate and create energies. You know, it's how do I bring that so I can create something on earth that helps everybody? But there's plenty of books on the psychological aspects of the personality. So I've been probably doing this quantum human theory work for years and I didn't even realize it. This is how this work appears. And I really do think it's defining this new template for what we can become with our God instinct, being in our God presence, the way we attach to earth and connect to earth energies. You know, all the work I've been doing on redefining what these could be as the highest vibration of them. And they're working because I say to people, does this feel different to the old technique? And they'll say yes. So this is all coming from divine intelligence. And all of you have access to this version of, so you have access to divine intelligence to get your own version of your purpose. And I think at times it's so large, it's beyond human, which is the personality caterpillar, comprehension. And that's why we're talking about enlightenment, because that involves you having to step out of the confines of the ordinary definitions of who you think you are. And that's what 2025 is asking us to do. But to do that, we need a definition of what we're trying to achieve. We need to tune in and learn what is possible for us as humans. So you have to believe now that you're more than you thought you were, that something is coming in and it's going to flip the script on who you think you are. It's going to ask you to believe that you're more capable of stuff than you've ever been before. No matter how successful you've been up until now or haven't been, this is going to really ask you to consider yourself in the same radical, different way as a caterpillar and a butterfly. And it's going to be achieved in a reasonably simple way by sharing our stories of how we dissolved the ego and how we did the energy management that we needed from the control dramas and healed our wounds so that we could allow the higher self to come in naturally by just simply talking to people over dinner, to people on the bus, to people on the train, and believing that you have a valuable message to share just by sharing your story. Even if you don't know what it is, exactly what it is. You just chat because you're called, you feel that inner calling, you share, and that person goes home and integrates that information, and then evolution happens. So this is why I've been encouraging you all to focus on what you want to become rather than what needs fixing. It's a different enlightened pathway when you focus on what you want to become and then what needs to be healed to allow that, as opposed to what needs to be fixed. And it can be done very simply, very naturally, through baby steps and the instinct of God, to unravel the problems, to learn the valuable lesson of the problems, and then to change the problems into an asset, rather than just trying to remove all the broken bits from a place of pain. So hopefully that's given you a feeling for what we're trying to achieve. Just check in with messages. We got one thumbs up for Kung Fu Panda. Kung Fu Panda definitely is a good avatar. And also the Avatar movie. Yeah. I guess the Avatar movie you're talking about, Jenny, yeah? So finally, the next steps. So this is about us working with our Kundalini energy. And I don't know exactly how this is going to work at the moment. I've got a meeting with my team to sit down and see what each person's getting to see if I can work out how this, because I know it is for me, but just try and get a message I can give you guys. So Kundalini energy is our life force energy. And I think what I'm seeing is that as a caterpillar, the life force energy is a bit different to a butterfly. And that's the kind of, as well as the DNA switches coming on, it's going to reactivate our Kundalini energy. And that might be why we're feeling so exhausted, because our Kundalini is our life force energy. So if it's coming on and going off and recalibrating, I can imagine that causing this kind of exhaustion in the process. So the next steps came through some crystals called spinel, and there were 3 colors. And the spinel we had a couple months ago in the crystal for victory, Victoris or something it was called. And we were using it to say that we are near the end of, we're going to attain victory soon. So the 3 colors that we want to use are colorless, orange and yellow. And these will help encourage you through the difficult times and circumstances. So if plum was kind of the devotion, the kind of spiritual boost, then this is the more physical Kundalini rejuvenation. So it's a physical kind of energy with the spinel, is to look at that side. So you can imagine when we have to ask the personality to dissolve, it's going to make us wobble and feel a little ungrounded. So we need to make sure that we work on 3 centers as we move from this personality to the butterfly, the higher self, and to create the environment for the higher self to come into the body. And the colorless will help you with the higher communication, linking the body with the divine, if you want to call it that. The orange is down in the lower tummy area, and that's going to help stimulate creativity and intuition. And this is the sacral center. If you know your chakras, it's the sacral center below your belly button. We're going to need creativity to tune into this and to imagine what this, or reimagine ourselves. And then we have yellow, which is above the belly button. And this is about our personal power and working through the solar plexus area. And I said before Christmas, I think the cough was working that solar plexus. It was kind of awakening it and shaking it about a lot to allow us to step into this personal power, because effectively becoming or moving from the caterpillar to the butterfly is a personal power upgrade, effectively. So that's the reading. So the mantra you might want to tune into for this month is, I am here as an agent of the divine plan to birth my unique soul essence and become the living embodiment of the new paradigm. I'm here to trigger the evolution of humanity so we may hold more of our multidimensional consciousness. I shine from the center of my being with an open heart. So that's the mantra. So hopefully that's triggered a few things for you guys. You've been a bit quiet on Zoom tonight, but more chatty on YouTube. Is this the story of the anti-hero? I don't know the story of the anti-hero. I'm trying to see if I can connect to what that is. You'll have to give me, again, Charles, when I say message me, I mean it. Because I can't get back to these to ask you questions. So on the other posts, I can. When I make other video loads, then you can always message me there and I can answer you there as well. But yeah, you always say something really interesting and I never get to finish my conversation with you. So if you really want to embrace this quantum human abilities, there's 2 ways we can work together. As I say, I've been working with a membership, the Quantum Human Portal. It's a subscription membership. And each month we go through 12, one per month, superstructures that we are required to support us in this metamorphosis. It's a 3-hour online workshop on the weekend done as a membership subscription. So you can join anytime and cancel anytime. It is intensive work with a workbook and questions for discovering more about who you are and what you're here to do. And it's combined with personality and soul exploration and energetic recalibrations. And we go deeper into some of these concepts that we've spoken about today, so we can help your body receive more of your soul wisdom and navigate life in a radically different way with more grace. And if you want to do it quicker, then I have one-to-one. I tend to work in packages, a 6-month package. And this is the same work, but you'll be trained in different techniques, and it'll be personalized to your life experience to help you find out who you are, to clear away all the limits, any personality blocks, and to allow you to find out your big why, which, like I said, is a cosmic big why, not the personality, house, relationship, but the cosmic big why. That's what I tune into. And that way, then you'll find which corner of the universe that you're meant to be making some changes in. And it's always exciting when that comes up. So I hold the light for you to then step into your empowerment. And it's a galactic journey at that. So again, you can email me at whitestarsoulguidance@gmail.com if you're interested in either of those two things. Hi, so we're there. We got to the end in the end. And I thought this one was going to be an easier reading, but it was very subtly complex. And I was like, there's something hiding underneath here I need to tune into. So next time I'll see you will be the 17th of March, and the usual at 8 p.m. on YouTube Live. And hopefully you guys will have some synchronicities of feedback to me by then. But please do hit the bell to be notified and put a like on it if you've enjoyed what I've shared tonight. And maybe even share it with somebody you think might be an awakening quantum human, and that might start their journey into this unknown metamorphosis of caterpillar to butterfly. And if you do get any synchronicities, if you come back and add them to the bottom of the video, I do see those. I might not see what you've said today again, but I will see those. And those might be synchronous for another person reading the comments or watching the video. So let's step into that agents of change and start sharing our comments. So I'm going to say goodbye now and join those on Zoom. And we're going to have a deeper discussion there. You can join me on that. Again, you could just message me. So just to close, remember you are a powerful creator here on this earth for your own delight. The path ahead may not always be easy, but it is simple. Trust in the unfolding of your journey and know that the universe is working in your favor. It's guiding you towards a life that you were destined to live. Embrace the energy of CEO leadership and step into your greatness. And use the energies of Plum and Spinel to overcome any challenges so that you can keep sharing your stories of ego release. For in doing so, you ignite the spark of evolution, not just for yourself, but all of humanity. This is your time to shine. The world needs your light, your passion, your unique gifts. So go forth, quantum humans, and create the heaven on earth that your soul longs for. The path is clear, the way is simple. All you must do is trust and take the first step forward. So I hope you all enjoyed that. I'll say thank you. And I will now say goodbye to everyone. So any questions before I go? It takes a few minutes to come through from YouTube, but no, nothing. I think we've again, it's like replay and then just play the questions back and add your information later. That's cool as well. All right, I'm going to say good night. Bye, guys. We're in for quite an interesting year, 2025. I might have to start making these sessions longer because there's obviously quite a lot to share with you. So have a good week.